What is up, YouTube, and welcome to another episode of Behind the Wall, presented by Perky Jerky. I am Pro Bowl 43, along with my co-host, Thermite 917, and Kane Jr. 88. It's 2018, so this is our first episode of the year. We're pretty pumped about it, and the new NASCAR season is quickly coming up, and, well, plenty happened in the off-season, so that's what we're here to talk about today, the off-season of changes, and obviously a look ahead to the future of NASCAR. There's going to be a couple of topics to talk about. The very first one we'll talk about is just everything in the off-season. There's plenty of driver changes, sponsors coming and going, teams dying, mainly small ones. Plenty happened. So what's the first thing that you think comes to mind, well, as far as like the biggest off-season change you would say? Nick, I'll start with you.
Well, I mean, you gotta consider Cody Coughlin going to GMS. I mean, that's pretty huge. I mean, he's going to be
huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, he's going to rack up the wins. He's going to eat more meatball subs than ever before. His hair is going to get curlier. He's going to need one of those picks like the black people using their afros. I mean,
Oh my God.
Holy shit.
You saying he's gonna get a perm?
He could get a perm.
Who knows?
Cody, yes, that's going to be the thing. That's the Coughlin perm. He's bringing it back, man. It's going to be like fucking 1999. Get yourself a perm.
going to be like one of those mullet perms.
A mullet perm.
Yeah.
If that's a thing, I don't know.
I don't know. Cody will make it a thing. That's for damn sure. See, you already a couple minutes into the new year of podcasting, and we're talking about Cody Coughlin. Yeah, that's something we should see back this year. Where did Cody Coughlin finish? But trust me, we're going to take it to a whole new level with his new venture. But, oh, man. I mean, there was plenty of changes. A lot we really knew, honestly. There wasn't a whole lot of new stuff, you know. Paul Menard, he was a change with Ryan Blaney going to the 12 car, and that leaves the spot open for 21, which Paul Menard gets. The 27 team is no longer existent. You know, RCR is cut down to 2 teams. You know, a lot of, like little changes. I mean, I don't know if I want to call them little, but they're not like huge ones. Like, there wasn't anything really unexpected and coming out of nowhere. There was no Carl Edwards all of a sudden retiring. It wasn't anything like that. In the way, the offseason was kind of tame, if you think about it.
There was no Carl Edwards coming back.
There wasn't exactly.
There was no Carl Edwards, period.
Everybody thought he was going to come back in 2018. I love that, you know. I love when people are wrong. I would have liked them to be right, but that's just not the case. I don't know. I honestly can't see it now.
No. And we're going to be proven wrong a lot with our predictions, I think, when we look back at this
Well, that's
a few months down the road.
There's going to be
That
some
is for
bold
damn
ones.
sure.
Yes, but we will save those bold predictions for later in the podcast. That's for sure. There's plenty that happened.
There's Casey Kane going to Levine Family Racing. Michael McDowell, I think, is going to front row.
Bringing Caleb with him.
Ooh, 5 races. A hot 5 races, I believe I heard it. Love's Travel Stops is mostly going to sponsor them for the majority of the races.
Right. Which, that's just not going to feel right without Landon Castle, man. I mean, I feel like Landon Castle is what made Love's, like, relevant, especially on Twitter, you know? With the fans, you know, taking pictures of Loves and saying, "Hey, Landon, where are you, man?" And then tweeting it out to him. That is one of the best ways to get a sponsor exposure, you know?
Well,
and it's just not going to feel right without him.
Well, that's a good point that you bring up because, you know, you think about it with guys like a Landon Castle in that car that isn't going to go anywhere. You know, the best thing that they can do is get exposure on the social media and Twitter and just basically become a personality on there, and like that's how you become known and have a sense of relevance, even if the relevance isn't necessarily on track because your performance isn't going to show it. But it's also it's a business too, and unfortunately he got the short end of the stick, and that brings me into my next point. Another guy getting the short end of the stick in the lower series at Xfinity, Blake Cook. He got bounced from his ride at Colleague Racing in favor of Ryan Truex bringing money, sponsorship dollars, whatever. That hasn't been totally announced. I'm not quite sure what for sponsor he's going to be bringing, but obviously Leaf Filter will continue to sponsor some of the races at least. But it looked for a time there that Ryan Truex wasn't going to have anything, because initially we thought that the Hattori team had just booted him out, but that was not the case. Another classic mistaken Twitter and social media ridiculousness. Here, everybody wanted the pitchforks out for Hattori Racing. I mean, we did too, but that wasn't the case at all. And he just decided to leave. That kind of sucks, to me, that was one of the biggest things that happened. Even though it was a small team, like, you really like Ryan Truex, and you like somebody like Blake Cook too, and you don't want to see either one of them lose their rides. And initially it was like, oh damn, Ryan Truex just got screwed, and then it was like, oh man, Blake Cook just got screwed. But I won't lie, I don't really want to see Ryan Truex run 12th all year in Xfinity either.
No, I want him to get a better ride. I mean, Kaulig Racing's not a terrible ride, but I feel like Ryan deserves something better. Whether it be with, even a part-time ride with Joe Gibbs Racing would be better than what he's got. Because he can it'd be like with Ryan Preece last year. You get a chance to prove yourself in better equipment, and that's exactly what Ryan Preece did. Even though it only got him 10 races in the very potent number 18 Xfinity car for Gibbs, but still,
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, and Truex did have a ride with Gibbs part-time before.
See?
Right.
Thermite with the old slide into the DMs there, even though this isn't a DM, but yeah, Thermite knew exactly where I was going. He had a driver development deal, and just like several people, like Matt DiBenedetto had a development deal with those guys too. So, hell, even Cody Coughlin, they got to bring him back up. He had a TRD development deal. And I don't know, just didn't work out on that particular path.
Yeah, and like you said, with basically them getting new, but still not that great equipment. I mean, will they help lift the team up, or will they stay the same, or will they get worse? It's kind of the same with McDowell leaving the 95. He did okay there for what it was. So will Kane help that team, or will this be the end of his career, basically?
Well,
I mean, there's a lot of unknowns.
That is true. And it's a good point that you bring up. I think that, if they have a little bit of assist, I'm not sure if they have a technical alliance with somebody else now. I think they had one with RCR, if I'm correct.
They still do have one with RCR.
Right. It's a tough call. I think the addition of the crew chief, they got Travis Mack from the 88 team, who was one of the best people on that team. Bad news for the 88 team, but good news for the 95 team. It's tough. If I were to make a prediction on them right now, I would say that there isn't going to be a whole lot changing because of the equipment still the same. I mean, realistically, what can you do? Again, it's kind of like putting the best of the best driver in a car that doesn't have the capability to finish up high. I mean, it doesn't matter who's in it. If the car sucks, the car sucks. End of story.
Especially nowadays.
Exactly. It is so just aero dependent and all sorts of crap. God, we could get into a huge conversation about that, and believe me, I don't want to, because we've done enough bitching, and I'm sure we'll do some more bitching about it this year, because man, it's so predictable. Oh, yeah. It's funny. I will say this though. One quick comment about all that. I had another conversation with a buddy of mine about how, back in the day, that it seemed like a lot of different people could win polls and stuff like that and be relatively competitive and then be totally uncompetitive next week. I mean, you could have a guy that could finish 25th in a race, win the poll. That doesn't really happen now. It's pretty much the same people like winning the poll or being fast all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you gave me that stat a few days ago about Kenseth's championship season. His average starting position was like 21st. Now if you're starting there, you're like a Landon Castle kind of person. Just the competition is so tough now. You got to be up front like all the time, and that hurts some of the lower teams because it's just harder to do good. If you're good, you're good, but if you're not good, it's going to be hard to make anything out of it.
Exactly. It's just so like straightforward nowadays, and like while there's a sense of like appreciation for that, it just still sucks. You don't want to watch the same shit over and over. I mean, we've made the comments all throughout the year, last year, several times during different podcasts, like how it becoming F2, F1 like, and it just seems like we're heading towards that direction again. Because I mean, what has changed that is going to make it any different? Nothing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the problem that NASCAR is in right now. I mean, there's just too much of a performance gap between the top teams and the lower teams. I mean, it's not like the early thousands anymore where pretty much anybody couldn't compete then, but there's just such a huge gap, and it's going to be really hard to overcome, especially with the economy. And I mean, the economy's been getting better, obviously, but still, I mean, NASCAR's economy, not so much. And
That's actually a really good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Because they're not getting better. They could, but they're just not. They claim to try to make things better and all sorts of shit and cost cutting and all this fancy stuff where they lay it out and they're like, yeah, this looks really good. We want you to think it looks good, but does it really do that much good? No.
And on top of that, you got ticket sales that are steadily declining for the past however many years. And it's only going to get worse with the departure of guys like Dale Jr., Matt Kenseth, Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart, Danica. I'll throw Danica in there because she's got that little kid factor that brings them to the track. So,
well, I think right there you just perfectly transitioned into the next topic, and that is the NASCAR future without some of the biggest star players like Dale Jr. and the people you just mentioned. Like, what is the future really going to hold now? There's a lot of unknowns because, again, people buy into the personalities, too. I mean, because then that's the way I always looked at it, too. Like, I want two things out of NASCAR. I want the personality of the people, I want a good driver to follow, and I want the races to be good. And I've had a good driver to follow, and we've seen some decent races, but that's where a lot of complaining lies. Now, I'm unfortunately like every other junior fan that you have to move on. You have to find something different. Whether it's not coming back at all, that could be your decision too. That isn't going to be our decision. For speaking specifically for me and Kane, Nick, we don't care about him. He's not. He's just a bandwagon fan. But so his opinions don't matter. But
closet junior fan.
Yes, that's right. Oh, obviously, I had to bust your nuts there, but
well, yeah,
of course, because that's just what we do. But like, we're moving on. We're gonna root for different people, and that's just it. But a lot of people that are fans aren't coming back or aren't gonna make a big enough effort to be as invested as they once were. So that hurts, big time.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people invest in the drivers more than the actual racing itself, and I've seen plenty of new fans who NASCAR claims they're trying to get interested in the sport. They're like, I don't know these guys. I've heard of Jeff Gordon and Dale Jr. I don't know about Kyle Larson that much. On one hand, you have to have the attention span and patience to pick a driver and start following them. But at the same time, in this society, everything has to be instant. And when everything is changing so much, forget the racing side of things, but like just with the drivers too, it's just hard to hold on to something and stay a follower.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
I mean, you just said it. It's kind of like getting people literally to listen to this damn podcast. It doesn't happen. It's perfect. Like, we are literally an example of what we're talking about. You can't. Nobody's ever even going to listen to this. I mean, and if you do, thanks. But just the attention span. God, I can't agree with that more. Like, everybody wants everything to be a fucking Vine. And it's not going to be a Vine, which doesn't even exist anymore. So it's like, I mean, it's a wonder movies are still a thing. Like, getting people to sit still for a couple of hours. Holy shit. It's a lost art.
Yep.
I mean, and with a race some races are upwards of 3 to 4 hours. Just the one race itself. Like, holy shit. How is anybody going to be able to pay attention to that? Not to mention everything you just said about starting to follow somebody and determining whether you even like that person or you like the sport itself. How is that going to happen? And Monster sure as shit ain't doing a good enough job. NASCAR ain't doing a good enough job with all their bullshit marketing programs and Daytona Day. Oh, suck my fucking dick on
Oh,
that
don't
one.
even get me fucking started on Daytona Day.
Oh my
Just
god, I'm all.
don't. Yeah.
I don't want to be started on it, but it's just like plastered all over everywhere, an attempt to like think they're doing something, but they're not doing anything. It doesn't. If anything, to me, it turns me away as a longtime fan. I'm so annoyed by it.
Well, and the problem is Fox is going to continue using Daytona Day because it won them an Emmy last year. Yes, I know that's so hard to believe, but yes, they actually won an Emmy for that. I find that hard to believe.
An Emmy for what though? What was it?
I don't know. I guess
Editing?
I have no clue. You'll have to look it up because
I think I'm gonna
I
stay
didn't think
far
there
away
was,
from
I didn't
that.
think it was possible to win an Emmy for a commercial either.
Yeah, seriously. And Daytona Day being the one that won, I find that extremely
Yeah.
hard to believe. What for bullshit payoff was that? Oh my goodness, because I don't care how many people it reaches. It's a fucking commercial, okay? Commercials are gonna reach the people that don't want to see it, okay? I'm a fan and I don't want to see it. So it's like, no. Just no, no, no.
Like, have a party or a tradition to watch the race, but don't make it a freaking holiday and just shove it all down our throats and try to make it something. Just let it happen naturally, and that's a reflection of the sport in general. They're trying so hard to do all this stuff, and like they're trying to bring in these new fans who may or may not be interested, and then they neglect the core fan base, and it's just they just don't have a great focus on anything.
No. And realistically, too, I understand putting emphasis on this race. It is a huge race. It's the Daytona 500. It's the Great American Race, that's what you should be fucking calling it, by the way. But it's just not quite the right way they should be going about it. And getting fans to watch this particular race, which is different than other ones. There's 35 other damn races, too. Okay? And they have commercials for all of them. And trying to get people to watch one race and get them interested in it, I mean, especially a race like Daytona that is so much different than the following week at Atlanta. It's way different. So, like, if you intrigue somebody enough, let's say that does, the commercial will intrigue one person. And then that one person's like, oh, wow, that's really tense, close racing. Let me watch next week. And then when it's some strung out horseshit, and they're gonna go, well, what the fuck did I waste my time for? And they click.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then that's their opinion. They tell their friends this, and anybody they come across that says, oh, yeah, I like NASCAR, and be like, I watched NASCAR 2 times. The first week was all right, and then the next week was horseshit.
That's accurate.
That's what they're gonna say.
Right. Well, and who throws a party for a NASCAR race anyways, even if it is the Daytona 500? That's part of my 2 cents.
Part of your 2 cents. Well, that's 1 penny, so give us the other penny.
That's one of my 2 cents.
Okay, fine. My other penny. First of all, it's obvious NASCAR is trying to appeal to millennials.
Yeah.
Millennials, okay, I think it's a pretty well-known fact that most millennials
They're fucking idiots.
don't even give a shit about NASCAR. Hell, I bet some have never even heard of NASCAR. Let's be honest.
Because they're idiots.
Yeah, and then of course you got Gen Z over here, swallowing Tide Pods, on you just to get hits on YouTube and shit like that. I mean, if that's what you're trying to get, NASCAR and Fox, good luck. Because there's no way you're going to sway them. I mean, if you do, great, but it's definitely not a good chance you're going to.
I mean, that's just getting new people to try to follow the sport or whether they got to be brought up. Their parents, we don't even need to get into a discussion about why they're pieces of shit as they are, but it realistically starts with your family and the upbringing and everything like that. If your parents are fans, they try to groom their kids into being fans and stuff like that. And it's just a cycle of life, and I'm not so sure this particular cycle of life as far as NASCAR fandom goes is not very good right now It hasn't been, and that's just unfortunately the way it is. The core fan base does have to stay strong, and if they don't, if that starts breaking, then what are they going to have? And it already has been breaking, because that's the entire point of this particular topic. What's going to happen? You already see pieces breaking away. I don't know. Do some of those pieces come back? Maybe. But did they give much of a shit? I don't know. This year is really going to be a telltale sign of what the next 5 years are going to be. Because if shit starts sinking this year, you're going to see a really bad rapid decline, unless they start making wholesale changes and the races don't suck as much, and there's more people and everything like that to root for, and I don't know. That's what they better hope happens, that they start smartening up and making the changes that the core fans want to see, that will drive new people to the sport. That's what they're missing.
Yeah. Exactly, and they think that by driving new people to the sport is making it more similar to the NFL. With, like, stage racing, they make it seem like it's quarters, No, it's not.
No.
It's funny, you mentioned stage racing. I saw something on Twitter, how they did a analysis of the people, like they calculated the amount of people that like stage racing, and they said, like, whatever the age group, that age group favored stage racing, and we fit into that age group. And I'm like, who the hell did they ask? I mean, because I haven't seen a lot of people that have really, really thought that stage racing was that great. And if they are telling you they like it, they're stupid or they're lying. Because,
yeah.
No.
Or they're drunk.
Or they're drunk. Well, that falls into the stupid category, Kane. So they're stupid or they're lying. So, no. I mean, fucking stage racing is not even. Again, I still look at it 1 year later from the initial announcement of that. I still look at it in the same linear way of it is only just a caution. They can try to expand on it and this and that. Junior, hell, I even had to hear him say, he says he favors stage racing. Okay, that's fine, Junior. But he sits there and says something about how they can add a new element to fantasy games. I mean, that's great and everything, but I don't even give a shit about NASCAR fantasy. I don't do it. So, for somebody like me, it doesn't even matter. I can give two shits about the stage points. It only matters to the teams and who's getting the points and whatnot. And realistically, that didn't make much of a difference anyways, except for the people that really benefited by it, like Martin Truex Jr., who basically had a free pass to Homestead in the last round. So,
yeah.
Yeah, stage winner, MTJ.
Exactly.
And funny enough, we're just coming off the Rolex 24 at Daytona. They don't have stages there, and that's 24 hours.
And they reward points in the middle of the race without having to throw a caution.
Yeah,
What a novel concept.
I mean, they make it work. They had a great crowd. It was quite an event.
But
you got to put stages in a 3 to 4 hour race.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. But the whole reason why NASCAR does it. I mean, it's been said a million times. It's just to basically try to stir up their drama. That's what they want. What NASCAR really wants is a pile of shit. Kind of like Homestead 2016, which still pisses me off to this day, a year and a half later. They needed to throw a bullshit yellow near the end of that race, and then they ended up causing a massive melee in the end of turn 1.
Yeah. One of their main problems is just trying to make drama instead of letting it happen naturally.
Yeah. Now, granted, they did a better job of, like, not throwing a whole lot of bullshit cautions, but that's because they had 2 bullshit cautions a race with the stage yellows. So, they didn't have to throw a debris caution all the time to try to slow things down. It's two ways. It's a two-way street. You know, on one hand, on that particular note, like, you know, you want races to get slowed down and stuff like that, but at the same time, you just don't want the artificialness. You don't want that feeling, because that just like it just dumbs it down. I don't like it.
Yeah.
NASCAR does so many ass things I can hardly keep up with them sometimes. It just makes my brain boggled.
Yep.
All right, now let's move on and talk about some predictions. Obviously, we have the season coming up. Plenty of shit's gonna happen. And we're going to make some bold predictions that may or may not have any sort of truth, validity to them, but we're going to make them anyways. I'm going to go ahead and start. I'm going to make some predictions for each of the series, starting with the trucks. One of my favorite series, if not the best. What the hell? It's my favorite series. Let's just get real. And we're going to start with our favorite buddy, Cody Coughlin. Oh, man. I seriously can't wait to talk about him all year long again. Hey, I just met him at the Hall of Fame. That was pretty cool, too. I made him smile. He looked like he wanted to kill himself, but then I made him smile. So I take great pride in that. And Cody, with his move to GMS, I think that he has a better season. He's not going to finish 13th in points. I say this year he finishes top 10 in points. That's right. That is my bold prediction that he will finish in the top 10 in points. But I will also say this. Cody Coughlin is going to cheese out a win. It is going to happen this year. In GMS equipment, they have gotten better. He's going to basically fill the role of Kaz Grala in a sense. But I think he could potentially be better. He was the lame duck at ThorSport with that 13 team. Okay, that team was the worst of all of them. Even with Cameron Haley. He had 2 years with that team, had some solid runs, maybe a flash of potentially winning, and it just never happened. The team wasn't that great. But I think now he's with a better team. He's going to have a little bit of time to gel, and I think he could pull it off. I think it's going to be in a strategy sense potentially, or at a plate track. But watch out. Cody Coughlin could do it. So what do you guys think? Truck predictions.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much in the same boat with your Cody Coughlin prediction. He's definitely going to do better. I've mentioned this a couple times throughout the week, but it's almost like when Logano went from the pressure situation of getting signed to Joe Gibbs and then going to Penske. It was like a fresh start. Obviously, Cody Coughlin's not going to be winning like 5 races a year, but he's going to do better. It's going to be kind of a good reset for him. I do think he'll make the playoffs. I'm not totally sold that he's going to win, but he might lead some laps. He might be in position to win and get screwed out, maybe like a Chase Elliott kind of thing. He might not be the most consistent, but he'll at least be effective for more good reasons than last year, or talked about for more good reasons than last year.
True. We need to get him an interview too, by the way. That needs to happen. Like, he literally was not interviewed at all last year.
Yeah.
Nope.
Kane, what about you? Any other truck predictions? Obviously, make a Cody Coughlin one, but any additional ones besides that?
That is going to be a tough one because with easily the best driver in the series, Christopher Bell, moving up to Xfinity, it's almost wide open as to who could possibly be contending for a championship. I mean, you got the usual suspects like Matt Crafton, Johnny Sauter, but then you've also got another crop of young kids coming in like Todd Gilliland. Even though he's not running the full schedule because he's not 18, he won't be 18 until middle of May, which is when he can start running the full schedule. But I think he might be a threat because he is jumping into that 4 truck, which we know is very capable of winning races. I mean, whether it's Eric Jones or Christopher Bell, that truck has won 2 championships now, and I think he can get it done, especially with KBM. But he's also got to watch out for other guys like Noah Gragson, obviously the 2 veterans like mentioned, Matt Crafton and Johnny Sauter. Which, on the subject of Matt Crafton, obviously it was also announced that ThorSport Racing has switched manufacturers. They are no longer with Toyota. They are now with Ford. Ford paid them a big chunk of cash after BKR shut its doors, therefore losing their last full-time team. So now they got another multi-truck operation that they can put all their money behind, and I think there will be a little bit of a transition period, kind of like with Stewart Haas Racing when they first switched. But I think ThorSport, regardless of the new manufacturer, I think they're still going to be a threat with Matt Crafton and obviously Ben Rhodes. I think Ben Rhodes is going to have another deep playoff run. That's for sure.
That's a pretty good prediction. I think I'd leave it at that. So
yeah,
let's move on to Xfinity now. Right down the line, I'll make my Xfinity prediction. Christopher Bell. He's going to come in slinging. I mean, it would not surprise me. Now, JGR, after basically a year off of not having a young guy go for the championship, they're going to be back in the swing. Now, Christopher Bell gets to do it. And he's basically going to do very similar to what Eric Jones and Daniel Suarez did. Suarez obviously eventually winning the championship in 2016. So I'm thinking Christopher Bell wins the Xfinity title. At the very least, he's going to Homestead. So I think this is going to be a really predictable year, unfortunately. But that's not to say that, other guys aren't going to get wins too. I think you see Justin Allgaier win a time or two. I think Elliott Sadler will probably break his little streak, find a way to win at least one time. So
you think he's going to be regular season champion again?
No, I don't think that either. I really believe that Christopher Bell is going to align the season. He's just going to take it over. He's going to have the JGR power. He's going to have the consistency. I don't give a damn if he's a rookie. It don't matter. He's going to do it.
Yeah.
So that is my simple Xfinity prediction.
I also think Christopher Bell's going to do good. He's going to get a few wins. But I think the guy that's going to take over and be the champion is Justin Allgaier. The amount of races Cup guys can run in the lower series is cut down even more this year. And when we've seen Xfinity-only races, Allgaier's always been right near the top. And I think he's just going to capitalize on it. And he has experience in Xfinity for a while. And it's finally his time to just go all the way and win. Yeah, I mean, I think all of JRM's going to be good. Obviously, whoever's in Gibbs is going to be good. I don't know exactly what Sadler's going to do. He's kind of a wild card. If he can ever get over his loss, thanks to Brian Priest from last year, I mean, he might get a win or two, but I don't think he's really going to have a better shot at a championship than last year. I do think Xfinity is going to be the most predictable out of the three series. But, I mean, who knows? I mean, anything can happen. I like seeing these young guys have a shot. It should be fun to watch at times. We'll see. Thank God for less Cup guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think I'm gonna side with Tyler on this one and say Christopher Bell is gonna be the guy to beat this year. Obviously, the JRM cars are gonna be strong. Obviously, like Nick said, Sadler's gonna be a wild card because you don't know how he's gonna do. And with less Cup drivers in the field, I think Justin Allgaier might have a better chance. But another guy that you definitely want to be watching, I know he only has a partial schedule, but Ryan Preece. I mean, he's going to be in the 18 car for only 10 races. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but keep an eye on him because because I think he could win multiple races, specifically Iowa, and I'm hoping he can run New Hampshire because that's his home track. But if he can win like multiple races this year, that could possibly get him a full-time ride with Gibbs, and that would be the best thing to happen to his career. So look out for him. Look out, obviously, for Daniel Hemrick. I think he's going to have another breakout year. And and also Tyler Reddick, I think, after his win with Ganassi at Kentucky this year, and now that he's going to the championship-winning 9 car at Junior Motorsports, expect him to possibly have a breakout year also. I don't know if it's going to end with a championship, but you never know.
Yeah, I totally overlooked him and even Cole Custer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Custer's probably the biggest wild card. You don't know which direction he's going to go in. And then just one more small driver change that we didn't touch on is John Hunter Nemechek having some races with Ganassi.
That's right, in the 42.
He broke away from the family team finally, so we'll see what he can do with the bigger team.
And another small driver change to note, Jeb Burton is going to be driving the 3 car for RCR, so it'd be interesting to see how he does in a decent Xfinity ride.
Yeah.
And while we're talking about driver changes again, let's not forget the double tandem team, Chase Briscoe and Austin Cindric, bitch, going to 60 car.
That's right. And Ty Majeski, don't forget him either.
That's right. He'll be sneaking in.
It's going to be a threesome in that car.
Oh shit. That's a good one. That's staying. Oh, absolutely. It's a pretty stacked field in Xfinity this year. You got to think about it. There's a lot of people. While I do think it's predictable in the form of Christopher Bell, you can see a lot of different winners, and I think it'll be a really breath of fresh air year for the Xfinity Series, and it's absolutely what it needs.
Yep.
So, with that being said, it's time to move on to Cup. Time to make a lot of predictions, so I'll kick it right off. I'm going to make a handful, try to keep it reasonable. First, I'm going to start with Casey Kane. I say Casey Kane does slightly better, actually, than what he's been doing in the 5 team. I don't think he wins a race because he got really backed his ass in that Indy one, but I think they do a little bit better. I think Travis Mack does a solid job as crew chief. I think that maybe RCR can kind of expand on that. They'll have a little bit, maybe more of an edge with the Camaro coming on. Maybe that plays a role. And that leads into my next prediction with Hendrick. I think that Hendrick has a little bit of a resurgence, new body, stuff like that. Tired of fucking losing, tired of running like shit. They haven't had their normal standard top 5s, like, consistently. They need to turn around, especially with the 48 team, really. They were not very good last year, surprisingly, even with their 3 bullshit wins. So, I don't think they will be the best team in Hendrick, though. That's going to be the 9 team. It's Chase Elliott's time. They were very good last year, very consistent. They didn't have the win they needed to really solidify that season. But the number change, that's a big thing too. I can't overlook that. I think it's just time for Chase Elliott. 3rd time's a charm, 3rd season, so he's going to put some wins up in the column for sure. And my prediction for him is that he is the one that goes to Homestead. I'm not saying he's winning it. I'm just saying he's going to Homestead, and they're going to win some races. As far as the champion goes, I truly believe that the Furniture Row team will be back on it again. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't be. They're not going to go backwards. I don't know that they could go forward that much. They won 8 times last year. That's a pretty high number, especially in this modern day era. But I do see them going back to Homestead. The last prediction I will make is that Kyle Larson won't have as good as a season as he did last year. I just don't know why. Something about it. Something just puts me off about that team and the way they ended the year last year. He's a good driver, no doubt about it, but I just don't know that they're going to be able to keep up what they had last year. I think the other teams are going to be catching on to that a little bit more. They were the best Chevy team. I don't think that they're going to be now. So that's where I'm going to leave it for Cup. Nick, go ahead.
All right. I'm going to start with Hendrick as well. This one might be a bold one. I'm going to say William Byron gets his first win before Chase Elliott. I don't know, just something about him, the way he won in trucks and then in Xfinity, it's like he just has so much natural talent. He has the right mindset. Obviously, Chase likes to get down on himself sometimes, which can be good and bad. But I just think Byron's going to, whether it's luck or strategy or what, I feel him getting his first win before Chase, even in it's the 5 team, basically. So, I mean, that throwing a wrench into things too, but I just think he's going to find a way. But I do think Chase is going to win at least like 2 races or so. He'll be fine. He'll make the chase. Moving on to Alex Bowman, he's going to go winless, but I think he'll have kind of like last year's Chase Elliott kind of consistency. He's going to have plenty of top 5s and top 10s, maybe have a shot at some wins. And obviously this all leans on if Hendrick improves and if the Camaro helps things. And speaking of the Camaro, in general, I think they'll make a solid comeback after last year, but Toyota is still going to be a little bit better and pull off another manufacturer championship. The final 4, I'm going to go with no surprises and say Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex, Kyle Larson, and Kyle Busch are going to be in it. And I'm going to go totally opposite of Tyler and say Kyle Larson wins the championship. I predicted him to win the championship last year too, and we see how that worked out. So, I mean, this could totally go either way, but I'm going to go on the positive side and say he doesn't choke in the chase. His team has everything together. They learned from their mistakes of 2017, and they're going to be even stronger. Other first-time winners, aside from Byron, I mean, Byron's probably going to win 1. I said Chase might get a couple. Suarez is going to get his first one. Might not get more than that. And Eric Jones is going to have the most wins out of the first-time bunch, and I think he's going to get 3. He looked pretty strong in the 77. Like Byron, he has a lot of natural talent. He's in the 20 car, taking over for Kenseth, which wasn't the best Gibbs car last year, but maybe he can make it the best one this year. Ryan Blaney's going to go back to victory lane. Here's a bold one. I think possibly it might be strategy or restrictor plate races, but I think both Dylans are going to get a win.
Holy shit.
Wow.
I mean, Ty looked pretty strong, even though he was in the 13. He made the most of that, and I mean, I don't know whether he keeps going up. I saw an article that they're looking for some good things this year. I mean, there's a lot of positivity. There's a lot of positivity for everyone going into the season. I'm probably going to be wrong on a lot of this, but here's a bold prediction. I think Jimmy Johnson is going to go winless this year. Like Tyler said, he had 3 BS wins last year, didn't do so well overall. I think it's just going to keep kind of going downward. I mean, who knows? He might. I mean, every time we count him out, he pulls something out of his ass, which is a golden horseshoe, and wins. But I just think, with all the young guys, with the switch to Camaro, I just think it's going to be harder for him to keep up than maybe in the past. I mean, anything can happen. We're probably going to be wrong on 99% of this, but that's the fun of predictions. You can make all this crazy stuff and see what happens. All right, Kane.
All right, here goes nothing. I do believe that Chase Elliott will finally break through and get that elusive first win. I don't know which track it's going to be at. It could be at a plate track. It could be at Michigan. He's been really strong there. Hell, it might happen here at Chicagoland. He's finished second in both of his races here. Who knows? But I think it will happen. I think Hendrick does have a resurgent year. Obviously, not like dominating like Gibbs and Furniture Row had, but they'll definitely be back, if you can think about that. William Byron, I do believe, is going to win not once, not twice. I think he's going to win 3 times this year. Alex Bowman, that's a tough one because you have to remember he's got Greg Ives as his crew chief, and that, I think, is going to screw him over a few times like it did with Dale Jr. I mean, I like Bowman, but I don't like Greg Ives as a crew chief. I think Tyler and I have both made that very clear. And Jimmy, that's a tough one. I mean, he's 42 years old now. He's an old man, and I don't think he's gonna stick around much longer. But you can tell he is starting to decline a little more. I mean, he might have hit his peak already. Who knows? But I don't know how many much years he's got left. So I mean, he proved last year that he can still get the job done.
You're
but
talking
I just
like he's
don't
dying.
Yeah,
I know,
right?
I
was going to sit there and say,
it
put him
sounds like
down.
yeah, I mean, let the hill. It's like, I mean, I'm not trying to sound like that, but I mean, the guy, I feel like he's like Lightning McQueen. He's gonna get usurped by all these young kids,
I'm just gonna put him in a home.
Man, I don't know how many years he has left.
I'm thinking about putting him in a home.
Anyways, moving on. I think Joey Logano is also going to have a comeback year. Obviously, last year did not go the way he wanted. I think he is definitely going to have a comeback and make the playoffs. I don't know how far he's going to go, but expect him to be back in victory lane multiple times next year. And also, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., for those who haven't heard, he broke up with Danica Patrick. So now, with that whole distraction officially behind him, he's free. He's free. He can officially make a name for himself, and I think he's going to continue to do that at the plate tracks and maybe even some non-plate races. Who knows? But Ricky Stenhouse Jr. should finally be able to make a name for himself and not just be known as Danica's boyfriend. And speaking of the 10 car, I think Eric Almirola, now that he is with a much more competitive ride at Stewart-Haas Racing, I think he's going to have a breakout year as well. I don't know if he's going to win a race, but he's definitely going to be way more consistent in top 5s and top 10s than he ever was with Richard Petty Motorsports. My final prediction, I think Ryan Blaney, now that he is with Penske, is going to win multiple races. and have a very deep playoff run just like he did this past season. I don't know if he's going to go to Homestead, but you definitely do not want to count that 12 car out this year.
Well, that wraps it up for predictions, but before we go, we have an award to hand out, but what could we possibly have to hand out in the off-season? What could have happened? Oh, that's right, people always cry. It's never ending. It's a crying towel. Kane, who does it go to?
Who do you think it goes to? It goes to our favorite salty Snickers son of a bitch, Kyle Busch! Oh, Kyle, you big baby, you couldn't wait till the season started to start your crying? Why'd you cry about this time? Oh, because all the young drivers are getting all the attention and you're not? I mean, I can understand why you're upset, because you didn't get this attention when you first came in the sport. And yet, they are. Well, they have good reason to. Because we lost Dale Jr., we lost Matt Kenseth, we lost Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart, and Danica Patrick. Yeah, that's right. It's a new era in NASCAR. And while you'll still probably be one of the most dominant names out there, you'll probably still get to Homestead, but jeez, can't you wait till after Daytona to start crying, you big crybaby! Crybaby!
Crybaby.
But are we done? I think somebody else cried too. Did they cry? Who was it? It was his brother! Kurt! God damn it, Kurt! You made a comment. I didn't like it. Kane, what was that comment?
He said that Chase Elliott was overrated!
You fucker! Did Patricia Driscoll come back into your life and fuck your head up? I know you hit that bitch in the motorhome after Dover. Don't you lie to me! Oh, I took it there. And he gets quiet. Come on, goddammit.
Yeah, come on, Thermite, you gotta have some thoughts.
Man, freaking god dang it.
I'm a Kurt Busch. I'm the Kurt. Oh, horse shit.
Everything's great.
Well, that does it. We covered a lot of ground. And we're excited for the 2018 season. Somewhat. Because, well, it's NASCAR. You never quite know what they're going to do to piss you off. Or make you excited. I don't know. I guess that's just the mystery of it. But, for now, we leave you with this. And we'll be back for Daytona. So, for myself, Pro Bowl 43, I'm rebranded. That's right. I'm my official Paint Scheme account username now that's so great and creative. I'm no longer Junior Nation 5788. That has died and gone to hell. For Thermite 917, I'm going to stop saying 917 because he told me to. And for Kane Jr. 88, it's going to be Kane Elliott 9. So let's just call him that. So for Kane Elliott 9, he's a Chase Elliott fan now. And that...
He's not my only favorite.
Oh, fucking Christ. If we had to change your name, it would be like Kane Elliott Johnson Byron Bowman 948 88
92488
92488, whatever. Fucking Christ. Bunch of numbers. God damn it.
Not Greg Ives 88 Jr.
Fire. It's gonna be Fire Ives 88.
Well, just like with the Bears wanting to fire John Fox.
Oh, thank you for putting in a fucking football reference in our NASCAR podcast. Fire Junior 80 or Fire Junior 88.
Oh, you went there.
Oh, I went there. And for Fire Ives 88, this has been Behind the Wall. You've been Behind the Wall, presented by Perky Jerky. And thank you for listening.
I didn't think mine would go that long. Like I had a lot of bullet points, and I thought they were just gonna be like one-line things, and I had to say a couple extra things about each one. But
yeah, and Kane's over there getting fucking Jimmy's eulogy.
Sorry about that. I didn't know. Poor Jimmy. Oh, Jimmy, we lost you too soon. No.
Nursing
All
home
right.
paid for by Lowe's Home Improvement.
Was it built by Lowe's?
Yes,
Probably fucking
Yeah.
was.
Lowe's
Alright.
for hose. I mean
Lowe's for
pros.
hose.
Lowe's for hose. That's a good one. That's it.
Here's another one that I was almost thinking of. Which notable winless streak do you think will finally get snapped this year?
Not Clint Boyer.
I was almost gonna say Boyer, but I don't know.
Probably not, but that's the first name that came to mind.
Right.
Not Clint Boyer.
I guess the worst driver on Hendrick, but I think Jimmy Johnson is not going to have a win this
Hold
year.
on a second. Hold on. You got to
yeah.
pause because Kane's fucking like I don't even know what. I could hear him in the background hard.
Stop breathing,
Sorry.
Kane.
My mom came into the room again.
Oh.
The dogs are still going nuts down there.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
All right,
She's like,
this
you
is
need
my
to
last
hurry
one.
up.
Kane.
Oh, well, I know, but
All right. I don't know, but I think with hold on, I started to yeah. um 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 yeah. Oh man, that's
Holy hell! Shut up, damn it!